yes, and we little nerdlings all. It's your buddy Johnny G for Two Gun Pixie presents Legendary Gaming. Thanks for joining me here for this Two Gun Pixie special presentation. And this time, what I'm talking about is, well, as you see from the thumbnail, towns and dungeons. But what does that mean to you? What does it mean to me? So, yes, as you've been noticing, I hope you've been noticing, we've been having some good hits on our Tales from the Table, where we talk about our Dungeons & Dragons game, and I show some behind-the-screen things that are going on, and how I do my builds, and what's happening. And, we just finished up a huge campaign, Forge of Fury, and next is going to be a 3-part break that we're taking, where we're playing some evil characters, running through a cavern. But after that, which is what brings us to this video here, after that, I'm going to be running the Speaker of Dreams. The Speaker of Dreams, the entire thing takes place in the town of Brendanford. You know, the buildings that are there, but it's the town. Everything takes place in the town. That presented a little bit of a problem. Now, the reason I say I presented a little bit of a problem is because I don't have a lot of city stuff. Well, let me rephrase that and correct myself. Up until recently, I didn't have a lot of city stuff. But with the last campaign, with that Forge and Fury, the one that we're still continuing the characters with, I realized that I didn't have everything I needed and wanted to do these builds. Because now I wanted to do bigger builds. Now I wanted to do the table builds.
Hey!
Okay. Well, I had to buy some stuff. Now, I did buy some, buy some dungeon stuff and some cavern stuff, and I was happy with it. I picked up some of the stuff from WizKids, their Warlock line. You've probably seen some of the unboxings, I believe, have already started dropping on the schedule, and there's quite a bit more coming down the road this next year. And I was very happy with, more happy than I was with what WizKids was making than what with Dwarven Forge was making. So I decided this is the way I'm going. I'm going to go down this path now. I'm going to change over and now spend money instead of on Dwarven Forge and some Etsy stuff. I'm just going to dive right in feet first. But when I decided, right, I'm the DM, that I was going to follow Forge of Fury with a Speaker in the Dreams, I don't think I ever ran that module when 3rd edition first came out. I had it, but I don't think I ran it. Nothing about it was familiar. So I really dived into the module. You know, I figured I have several months before, almost a year before, we're going to be hitting this, since we only play twice a month. Let me get ready. And I'm glad I did, because I quickly realized I can't build a city. Now, there was a time about 10 years ago, maybe 8 years ago, where with another group I was running, and we were doing the Slave Lords series, and in A4, in Dungeon of the Slave Lords, you escape and you get to a town in Sudaham, I believe the city was. Sudaham in the Pomage. So I used my dungeon pieces to make a few stone houses and stuff, and I downloaded and printed out some city streets that were gridded in a 1-inch pattern, and that was okay. Everyone loved it. They thought it looked good. At the time, I was happy with it. But thinking about what I wanted to do with Brendanford, that wasn't going to cut it. So at that point, I realized that there is a massive difference. Was the first step of me realizing there's a massive difference in running a dungeon build for your table as opposed to a village or a city, town, the streets and everything. But I was, you're in for a penny, you're in for a pound. There wasn't anything I was going to do to stop. Now I was going to continue forging ahead. So I had to make some changes in my buying patterns. My needs dictated something different. So this past almost year, I've been diving feet for, I already used that phrase already. I dove right in, and I found, besides the WizKids stuff, before that I had found battle systems. You've already seen a bunch of those unboxings and a couple of builds for them that I've done, and I really did like them, but I decided that a combination of the two, battle systems and the WizKids stuff with the Warlock tiles, was going to be the best route for me to go, especially when I discovered, which had already been out for a year or two, I think at the time, I discovered that Warlock tiles came out with City Streets. Well, that changed everything. Now, before I go further into how that changed everything, I want to restructure, so to speak, what I'm saying here and how I'm saying things here. So let me just start off with the table, because that's the most important thing. If you're going to be the kind of dungeon master that makes table builds and you want them to be as epic as possible, let's start there. So I have what I call a standard folding table. See, a lot of street sellers use them. I picked this up at Target. I can't remember the price. I'm not trying to, sell for them or anything. But standard, what are they, like 6 feet and by 3 feet or 2.5 feet, something like that. It's a good table. Standard, it works. But I didn't think it was going to be enough for a city. So what I mean by this is, with the dungeon, we're never really getting more than 1 or 2 rooms in. There's a lot of in-game play, and it's tight. I think that's what I want to say. It's tight on the table. There's not a lot of huge room needed, especially since I use these computer risers. So I build everything on the computer risers, and that leaves underneath the riser, the actual table itself, free for the gang to put their sodas, their character sheets. It leaves the space on the table for them to use whatever they want. I needed a second table. I got to thinking about this city, and I realized that using the one table that I have, even with the risers, saving the space, right? I wasn't going to get more than a couple of buildings in. It'd pretty much be like one main avenue with a couple of buildings on it. That's not enough. Not for me. Not for what I want to do, what I want to build. The image, the vision that I have of Brindenford was bubbling around in my mind. So I went out and I got a second table. Now that should have been the first hint to me that building a town is going to be a lot different and a lot more expensive than building a dungeon or cavern system. But still, I forged forward. So after getting the second table and even doing a setup with it to see how much room it's going to take in the game room, which is going to be tight for those game days, I realized how many sets of the Warlock tiles city streets that I was going to need. Now, from what I can tell, when I initially set it up and started eyeballing the sets and how they sit on the table and the footprint that they take up, I came to the conclusion that more or less, maybe a little bit less, but more or less the size of the Warlock box for the town square set is about the build size of it. So, looking at the box on my table, I realized that I'm going to need at least 6 per table. And I have 2 tables. So yeah, that's going to be a minimum of 12. These things are expensive. I only bought them on sale for Amazon. The best sales I could get. I never spent more than $80, which is still expensive as hell. I never spent more than $80 on any one of the Warlock Tile Town Square boxes. Yeah. But again, remember, I had about a year. So I wasn't buying them all at once. That's highly important. Otherwise, I'd be divorced and out on the street. So now I got the space. Looking at the setup, again, dungeons are a lot different. When you're looking at the dungeon build, you're pretty much looking at corridors with rooms, niches set off aside. That's about it. For the city, it's the entire damn table. That's a big difference. Big difference in needs. So, knowing that I was going to have to fill the entire 2 tables down with all this, still I forged forward. So, as I was just building up to and alluding to, the dungeon hallways with their occasional rooms set off to the side is one thing. But now we're dealing with an open map, because it's a city street. In fact, one of the characters, Ron's character, Justice Amon Talbot, he's from Brindenford. He knows this town. He knows some of the NPCs. His brother and the family still live in the family farm outside of town. It's a town. Open streets. So there's no building it as you go along. As I was starting to do, as you're going to see coming up next month for the next 3 months with our evil campaign, I did get a chance to build as they go, which the party absolutely loved. But you're not doing that with a city. No, you can't do that with a city. Well, I mean, you can, but it's one thing to have a dungeon corridor and maybe a dungeon room set off to the side where they don't see, and then I get to take it and put it on the table. But to have an entire table's worth of city streets and buildings? No, there was going to be no building as we go along. This was going to be open sandbox style. It has to be. So that means a lot more to build up, right? To build around. Because with the dungeon, I'm just building an occasional room off a corridor here and there. And even if it fills up the whole table, there's still a lot of empty spaces on that table because of the corridors, right? The other side of the corridors don't have anything, just the table. But now, I need to populate the city streets with buildings. So, don't have any building stuff. So again, I turned to Warlock and battle systems. My concept is, generally I think the battle system stuff, if you're going to be using both sets, I think the battle systems looks better, a little bit more rural, more countryside kind of buildings that they have, as opposed to the thicker, more structured building looks of the city setups. So I think combining the two of them for different purposes is going to work well. Even in the city, to have something that looks a little shantier is going to work. Pulling this all together. But now remember, I'm dealing with 2 tables. I'm dealing with approximately 12, actually I think I got 13 boxes of the town square to build everything out in. That's also a lot of buildings. Now, not all the buildings are going to be 1 floor. A lot of them are going to be 2 floors because I'm planning on incorporating the business owner's home above the business shop. So the tobacconist, or the cheese shop owner is going to have a second space above them. Building it's constant. In a city, it is constant. I'm realizing that. Because another thing I realized I needed was the front gates. Now, they don't really have anything front gatey. They have a couple of towers, but no front gate kind of system thing. Other than using the stone dungeon warlock tiles maybe to build something. There's nothing that they have there. But battle systems did. Oh yeah, they got the battlement walls. They have the entrance into the city, So that got built and tested already, and everything looks absolutely great. So again, the amount of building that you need to do. And I'm going to be mixing it up too. There's going to be a lot of these businesses that the first floors is going to be stone. So I don't need everything to be the wood buildings that Warlock Tiles has. It's gonna mix things up like that. But still, I figure there's probably going to be 3 buildings on each block, and one table is going to be 3 blocks long, and there's 2 tables. There's going to be double sides to the blocks on either side of the buildings and stuff. So yeah, as you can imagine, if you're going to do like I have done, and you're planning on building a city for your tabletop, plan on a lot of buildings. Different styles too, that will help. But that wasn't all. Because now I have the buildings, I have the streets. What's missing? That's right, a population. Now in a dungeon, you're really just populating it with the monsters, the enemies, the antagonists, whatever you want to call the adversaries in your particular game, and any NPCs, and that's it. And this is a dungeon, so it's not like things are bustling down there. Maybe the occasional wandering monster if you use them in your style of DMing, GMing, storytelling. I don't know, but that would be about it. But I'm building a city. So if I have 2 tables worth of streets and multi-story buildings, I need a hell of a lot of people. So I have a lot of miniatures, a lot of the painted WizKids. WizKids I had some of, and the old when Wizards of the Coast, I'm trying to say, miniatures, especially back when they started the new D&D with 3rd edition back in 2000. You have a lot of miniatures, but they're all heroic characters or villainous monsters. They all have weapons. They're all presenting combat. That's not going to work for the city streets. So then I had to go on a hunt. I had to go on a hunt for merchants and town folks. Now, as my regulars know, I don't paint. I don't paint the miniatures. So I had to find painted ones, which was even more difficult. Oh, if I wanted them unpainted, they were almost a dime a dozen practically. I'd be swimming in them. That doesn't work for me. So I did. I found a hell of a lot of townsfolk miniatures. I think Monster was the company. Monster something. Not Monster Scenery. A different monster company. But anyway, I got a bunch of those. I even found, WizKids has put out quite a few D&D Pathfinder miniatures that do count as townsfolk. Bartenders, merchants, dancing people, drunks in bars even. So that helped me a lot. But boy, 2 tables worth. And I got buildings, and also, if I didn't mention already, and you can't tell from the cover, there's a festival going on. There is a Market Fest, which in game for Greyhawk, I am mixing that with Beer Fest, which is the end of the year, end of the season, going into Need Fest, which in real world is equivalent to our Christmas, right? So there's a party, and I mean, look, you can see the party streamers and everything there, and there's entertainers on the streets everywhere. Being Beer Fest, there are tavern and pub owners have come out onto the streets, putting tables out. I mean, this is a drunken festival. Picture Oktoberfest meeting Carnival. That's what this is going to kind of be like. So I had the streets. I got 2 different sets of buildings. I got multiple sets of painted merchants and townsfolk. Oh, been piecing this together for a year. It's coming together great. And then last month something hit me. that I'm in the process of solving right now. And this game won't be starting until second or third week in January. Is when we're getting back to these characters. And I realized I got people, I got buildings, I got almost no furniture. Countertops, tables, chairs, kitchen sets. I don't have any of that. So I had to start buying. And I did find there's a lot of good sets. WizKids has several different tavern sets. One for the yawning portal pub set, tavern set that they have. And then they have some generic ones for their 4D set. So I guess got them all up. In fact, I bought multiples. I bought 2 of each set for them. And then I went on Etsy and I found some individuals that make more things like this. Beds and cabinets, all 28 millimeter. Most of them not painted. I did find the ones that were painted and only got those. And then on eBay, I got 3 sets. Now, I have one almost full intact set. So I bought 3 of the old Hero Quest sets. Yeah, not the new ones, because they're not painted. But the old ones, the original ones from the 80s and 90s. Now, I'm sure there's some Hero Quest owners out there that are bitching that I just bought them and I'm not using them for Hero Quest and they need them themselves. Well, tough titties. That's the way the cookie crumbles. But I do. I have absolutely hardcore need for them, repeated need for them in my D&D campaign. So they're being put to good use. And between everything on Etsy and eBay, the Warlock stuff, the WizKid 4D stuff, I'm hoping that I have enough counters, chairs, tables, beds. I think I do. I feel like I did back in the 90s. I was a writer. Story for another day. I was regularly published in a local New York City paper at the time. But this kind of reminds me of the attitude I had back then. It was very difficult for me to just stop a story. I just kept editing and self-editing to death. So I had to learn to stop. Maybe that's the point I'm at here now. But when I did jump into this, with the full plan, because I really love the way this module reads. And to do this as a town adventure, and they just came off of a dungeon adventure that ended in a cavern system. They need to see something different anyway. But it's a world different. If you're planning on doing a town-based adventure and you're a table builder like me for your RPG campaigns, this is going to be tough. This is going to be expensive for you. Make sure you know what you're getting into, because there is so much more stuff. You know what? And I didn't even mention the scatter. The amount of scatter I discovered that I needed for a town is so much more than a dungeon. In a dungeon, yeah, you need the occasional crates and boxes and barrels, maybe a weapon rack. You might need a barracks room here or there. You need a good amount of scatter. But the amount that I want and need for the city to make it look good, make it look decent, that is insane. Yeah, I've been buying up a lot of little scatter pieces too. I think I got enough now. Speaking of self-editing that I was just doing before, I think I got enough of the scatter stuff to use now, between Etsy stuff, between Warlock, WizKids scatter, battle systems. I think I'm doing good in the scatter. Yeah. Oh, now I'm going to say something, because other than Ron, I don't think my players really watch my videos. Yes, I know Kyle does watch a few of them. Maybe he's watching this one, and if so, Kyle, cover your damn ears, because this is better for a wow effect. But I'm going to tell everyone else, I'm going a step further with this build for my players this time. My wife is stepping in because she likes to do little arts and crafty things. So I want this. I want banners. I want little triangle flags on banners that are going to be going between the lampposts in the city and maybe between the buildings. But that's not it. That's not it. I also decided, what does a city have? Especially when you think of a medieval and fantasy city, what does it have? A lot of street animals, a lot of rats, a lot of dogs, you have pigs running around, maybe chickens running around the city. Yeah, so I wanted that too. So I went a step further, and there's going to be so much street activity that's not even humanoid. I'm talking, stray dogs, rats everywhere, crows, ravens, crows are going to be like city pigeons in this. But that's not it. There's one final thing. And Kyle, if you're listening, cover your damn ears. The other little craft project my wife is making for this, clouds. Yeah, there's going to be clouds hanging over the goddamn city. All right, so maybe you don't have to go as far as I'm going for this city build, but I'm telling you, this is going to look fantastic. But it's costing so much time and money. I'm glad I'm pretty much at an end for this now. Now I can spend the next year trying to buy stuff that I need for my Against the Giants Steeding of the Hill Giant Fort stuff that I need. I'm almost finished on the palisade walls that are going to make the steeding. I got most of the minis. I don't think I'm going to need to be getting anywhere near as much stuff moving forward with the Giant series that I'm going to have to get, or that I've had to get to build the city. Cities are expensive. In case you didn't know, building a city is expensive. Well, I've shown you some pictures while I was talking, if I did my editing job correctly. And as I said, next 3 months for Tales of the Table, you're going to see the Evil campaign, the Death Lords of Vecna, part 1, 2, and 3. But after that, we're jumping back to our main hero characters, and that's what this whole conversation has been about. As I sign off, this is sitting right here. Let me just show you. So, although I already do have... I got a mead hall because I want a nice mead hall for the city. I already have this. I already built it. What's this? Well, I also have built the Northern Homestead. If you have those two, and you get the Northern Homestead accessories, which I've already used a couple of pieces out of, then you can kind of like combine these two and make stables. And that's the last building thing I really need and want for my Britain Ford adventure. Especially since I've gone to so much trouble, effort, and a little bit of money to buy some nice mount miniatures for everyone in the party. I want a place to put them. But I'm going to build that out. That's like the last thing I need to do. There's a couple of more pieces I'm waiting for right now to come in. There's one more major piece. I'm going to have to save up a couple of weeks for to get. But after that, I also have to build the Black Forge. That's it. It's expensive, man. If I had known beforehand going into this, I might not have chosen. In fact, I can pretty much guarantee if I knew how much time and money this was going to cost to do Brendan Ford, to do Speaker of the Dreams with a tabletop build like I want to do, I would have found a different module to be next. But I'm glad that finding all this out, I still just kept going. Like a damn machine, I just kept going. So those are the big differences I've discovered between tabletop building for a dungeon-based D&D game and a city. But this is also why I told the players I want them to think about making secondary characters. Their current characters just hit 5th level, or is it 6th level? So I told them we'll make these at 3rd level, And these will be characters to help your main characters. They want to stay in town. They want to make Brindenford their HQ. They don't want to be just murder hobos. They want to set up lives here. They want to buy houses and stuff. Wow, they want to go all out on this. Well, I told them, okay. But the next modules that we have lined up, man, you are not going to be home for a year or two. So they're going to have some secondary characters in town. Since I'm spending so much money, and I advise this to anyone that's doing like I'm doing, you're spending so much money on one particular set type, in this case a city set type, like I've done, make plans to keep using it. You want to get your money's worth out of all this. So we're going to be doing side adventures while the main group is dealing with the giants. They're going to have secondary characters dealing with stuff in town, and that'll keep the builds going. So that's it. That's what I have discovered, and it has been eye-opening, especially after DMing for almost 5 decades, and now just realizing this. I'm always learning something new as a DM. All right, everyone, thank you for checking out this video. I'm your buddy Big John at G for Two Gun Pixel presents Legendary Gaming, and I am out of here.